Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Yeah. So, how'd you do this week on your sleep homework?
I would say I gave myself like a C minus. I did pretty good. There was one night, I think it was Sunday night. I actually didn't go to sleep till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no.
I don't know what it was. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the new foaming coffee that my kids and I have been making. Um, so I was exhausted and it kind of like threw me off. So that was one night. But overall, I think I did okay. I didn't wake up later than what I was supposed to. And my bedtime was pretty consistent except for that one night.
Yeah,
What
I would
about
say
you?
for me, like it seemed like in the first half of the week, like right after we met, it was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Um, where I was really good, like going to bed at 11:30, and that's actually, I think, I would say that's been kind of what I'm having to concentrate on more. Like when it gets to be about 11, like I'm like, no, I need to start thinking about like, okay, I need to get to bed. And because like I'll be like, it'll be 11 o'clock, I'm like, I'm not even tired. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. And then it's like as soon as I turn my brain on, like, no, maybe I should start like thinking about going to bed. It's like I get sleepy all of a sudden and I'm like, all right, I can go to bed.
Do you
So,
ever have any nights where you're tired before your bedtime? I kind of struggled with that one, and I was like, should I go to sleep? Do I have to wait? Like, what do I do?
you know, last night I did, and I think I went to bed at like, I don't know, it was like 10:40, but it was weird. Then I woke up like at 11:30 and I'm like, well, now it's when I'm supposed to go to bed. So I actually, what I did is I like read for like a half hour and then went back to sleep because like, I don't know, it was weird. I woke up. And so I would say this week it's been a little bit more of a struggle where I'm actually, and I don't know if I just have a lot on my mind with the end of the school year. My thoughts are racing. I've been finding myself waking up in the middle of the night and then not being able to go back to sleep, which is not actually something I usually deal with. Um, so this week's been a little, just the past couple of days, a little bit more challenging.
So
But
the
I would say,
topic is perfect for you today.
right. I would say overall though, I mean, I definitely found that like having that firm bedtime made it so much easier to wake up in the morning. And that's something that, I've lifelong struggled with. I don't like to get up in the morning and having like, I always have like, this is what time I have to get up. But, strangely, since I've become an adult, I've never been like, this is my bedtime. I have a firm bedtime, and that's just not something I've ever done. And it was, I had like kind of these battles with myself with like, I have to have this bedtime and like, like it's good for me. I need to do this, but I'm like, but I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want.
I think once you start like reaping some of the benefits, that becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Um,
It really made me think, I've been thinking about that this week and made me think about our topic of self-care, because I think a lot of times just, for me, like stuff that, you think of self-care as like the good stuff, but I think sometimes it's the stuff that you don't want to do that's not as fun, but really important. And yes, you reap the benefits of it, but sometimes like, and maybe that's the part about modeling self-care for our kids, because it's like showing them that, yeah, we do, we eat our veggies type of thing.
And I think it's hard too because kids like, instant gratification. And so it's like kind of like if you study for an hour and you're like, I studied for an hour and I didn't pass my test. It's like, well, we need to build that every single day and incorporate that so we can reap the benefits. And I think that's, a lot about self-care because sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I was, thinking about what I do for self-care and, when I learned about it and all these things. So basically it's like a really deliberate way to take care of our like mental health, emotional health, and our physical health. And it's not necessarily something that we're supposed to force, like, eating well, it that can be really difficult, right? But it's like trying to find the enjoyment in it so that it makes it more kind of easy to want to practice. It's something that like refuels us and doesn't take away from us. But like you said, sometimes it is tough. When I was in graduate school, when you're learning about social work, every single class has something about self-care in it. Like if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to develop compassion fatigue and you're going to burn out and you're going to have to switch careers and all these things. And it was, countless hours of lectures about how to take care of myself. So I think it started to create some fear. So when I started working, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to take such good care of myself. I was trying to be proactive. So I had this like whole to-do list of like, I go to work, I come home, I'm going to do, a 20-minute walk, and I'm going to do a 20-minute meditation, and I'm going to, sit out in the garden. And so what happens is I need to take my long bath. Well, when you add that to everything that you have to do anyways, then it just becomes part of your laundry list, right? And it just became like very stressful for me. So I was noticing that I was staying up till like midnight to get everything accomplished. Like I knew it would be good for me, but it was adding to my stress. And so a lot of times, like with therapy, when I'm seeing clients for like stress and anxiety, I give them things that they're supposed to do, but I kind of have to monitor, like, if this is adding more stress to them, it's
Mm,
like, what's the point of the therapeutic part if it's actually like compounding the issue, right?
right.
I think it's kind of like the same thing with self-care of like, is it causing you a lot of stress, right? Is there time for you to do it? And so I think it's important that we kind of keep it simple, so um let's see. So I had a couple notes around it. I think about, like, as parents, like, everything we do is for our kids, right? It's like we, do laundry and we cook and do all these things. And so our needs get kind of left on the back burner. And when I was growing up, my mom, she did everything, cooked, cleaned, worked, helped us with our homework. Like everything was about us. And when I look back, like it didn't really necessarily seem like she was like enjoying life, right? Like it was just like super stressful. And what had happened is my mom was 40, she had a heart attack. She was 41, she was diagnosed with diabetes. She's had cancer, she's had all these health issues. Thankfully, she's good now, but what I realized is like I don't want that for myself, right? So I want to take care of myself in a way that I think for a mom sometimes that feels selfish. And even my mom now, she'll kind of look at me and be like, really, you're gonna go on an 8-day vacation with your friends from work, right? And that's so selfish, and that might be a little extreme, but it's so beneficial, and it makes me come back a better, stronger parent. And I just think that we neglect our own needs to cover the needs of our family. And so I think that's just something that has become such a necessity for me. I don't know if you've ever experienced, like, I'm sure you have, like the mom guilt of taking care of yourself.
Oh, for sure. Like, oh, I should be doing this, and what? I've got to like not do this, what I want to do right now.
Mhm.
And it is like definitely, but I agree, because I find that if I don't have, I guess the one thing that I do for self-care is like, because I am really actually very introverted, but my job doesn't really allow me to be introverted. I am around people all the time. Well, and that's funny with, shelter in place. Like I'm like, this is, it's been a big difference because I'm not being around people all the time. So I'm not finding that I have to do this as much. Though if I have a lot of Zooms, I definitely need to like shut down at the end of the day and be like, oh no. But I, for my own self-care, I need that, just regrouping time where I have just some time by myself and it's quiet and just to recharge. Otherwise, I'm very short-tempered. I feel like emotionally exhausted that I can't, you know, be there emotionally for my family. And that's just something that I have to do for myself.
And I think with like the shelter in place, I think sometimes I'm hearing a lot of people are kind of treating it like we have more free time now, right? We have more free time to clean and to organize. But what I think people are neglecting to see is that there's so much stress involved with the situation, whether we acknowledge it or not. We're stressed about our health, we're stressed about our money, we're stressed about the unknown. And when we just keep adding these things to our plate because we think we're supposed to do it, like we wouldn't add special projects to our work week normally, right?
Right.
I would never say like I have a busy work week, but I'm going to come home and I'm going to organize the pantry and do crafts with my kids. Like that wouldn't happen. So that we kind of have to like really process that this is like something that can be traumatic for us. This is something where our minds are working overtime, our emotions are working overtime, our bodies are like feeling the tension of it. And like, how do we take really good care of ourselves to make sure that it's not going to get the best of us, right? Like how do we stay healthy during this time? And when you mentioned like just being home with our family, that's like another stress, right? We have additional people around us all the time. But what I did the other morning is I just wanted to kind of just feel like what kind of sounds and activities are going on in my house that are creating kind of anxiety for me. And for me, when it's not quiet or when there's too many sounds, I get, like you said, like kind of agitated. I'm not my best me. And so we were sitting in the breakfast room and the TV was on. The gardener was blowing stuff in the backyard. One of my kids was making a smoothie in the blender, and it was just all this like noise pollution. And I noticed myself just like, oh, like I can't. And it wasn't anything big. It was just like
Right.
all those things. And there's 5 people in our house, and it was just really like kind of wearing on my nerves. And so I had to like walk outside and just kind of sit and just absorb that silence, just to like regroup, like you said, and that's harder to do because, some of us don't have a backyard or space. So how do we get those moments of just silence and quiet to like
Yeah.
bring it back, right? It's not easy.
No, it's not. And so that's, do we have to like go for a short walk or, like I found myself, whenever I have to mail something, normally when school was like normal session, the mailman would actually pick up outgoing mail from the office. I don't know if you use this for like whenever you have to mail something, but I would just drop it in the box and like, any like packages, like my Stitch Fix, if I had to return it or anything like that I had to mail, I would just drop in the box and take care of. Well, our mail isn't being delivered like normal right now. We have to like actually go to the post office and pick it up.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't been an option. But one thing that I'm doing, we have, one of those blue mailboxes that's about 4 blocks away from us. And so I'm like, in the afternoon, some days when I'm like, oh my God, I need a little break. I'm like, I'm going to go walk to the mailbox. And so it's just like a little, like it takes 15 minutes a round trip, but it's just a little like brain break where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let everything go and just walk and,
Sometimes I walk around the house more. Are we out of toilet paper? Do I need to go to Target? Like, how do I get out of here? Like, how do I just take it?
I think that's what my husband does. What errand we run?
So self-care too is there's different categories of it, right? We've got like the physical part, and the physical part, of course, would be like movement and eating better and things like that. And so I think there's like, what I've read was like 6 or 7 different categories, and it seems like a lot, right? Like, and so I don't want people to think of it as like, again, like a checklist of like, I have to do this, I have to do this, but kind of start pooling things as to what you think would be beneficial to you. And what's kind of interesting about self-care is that our needs change. So obviously our self-care is not going to remain the same all the time. I might have more need for silence one week than the next.
Yeah.
So just kind of thinking about the categories and then kind of pulling through. I think the physical one, I mean, really it's something that should just be, right? Like we should eat healthier. We should move. That's something that we need to do.
One thing I wanted to mention, one of our teachers at school, she's a PE teacher, Ms. Iochi, when we started the shelter in place, and we moved to distance learning, she actually started a YouTube channel where she posts, and they're real short. They're like 5 minutes, like videos where, she gives, some workouts for her kids, for her students. And like, she invites the parents to come along, but she does talk about, overall fitness and health. And so I've sent that link out before parents. I probably should send it again to her YouTube channel. But that is, and I've actually got some feedback from parents. It's been great where they've been talking about like, oh, they did her workouts. And
that's so cool. I definitely need to check that out. Because sometimes it's like, you think of exercise as being like the chore, right? Like, oh gosh, I have to go to the gym or whatever. But really just like being out, and like being out right now, like we take the kids for a walk or whatever, and there's like chalk drawing, just like absorbing your environment that you're not usually in. I was reading that I think it's Americans spend 93% of their life indoors. Like that's crazy to me.
yeah.
And so I always think about like when people say like, I would never live in Arizona, it's so hot. I'm like, well, I don't really go outside that much. That's not really something that I do, but it's definitely something that this shelter in place is like, because that's some freedom, right? To be outside, and how important it is for you.
And I'm, like you, I'm very lucky that I've got a backyard, and I've spent some time, like you're just talking about adding extra projects, I guess I don't know, because I always plant a vegetable garden every spring, no matter what. Usually by the first part of July, I've let it die because I never have time to water it, or I forget to water it, or I get super busy and like whatever, it dies. And so what's been different this time, like right now, is because I don't have my commute. And yes, I'm still working all day, but it's that commute time. I don't have that. And so I'm taking that time, like going outside every morning. Like right before we got on to film this morning, I was out watering my yard. And so I'm doing that, and I'm like seeing like the fruits of my labor, because it's like, wow. And so it's just like kind of like, this new self-care that I'm doing for myself, that I wasn't doing before. It's just this like quiet half hour that I have to myself before I'm starting my day. And it's amazing. And actually I keep thinking about like, God, at some point I'm going to have to start driving to work every day again. Like that will happen.
Right.
And I'll miss this so much. Like this is something.
Take care of the garden.
Yeah, this is something that is new in my life. Like so many things suck about shelter in place and suck about this time, and it's so hard. And it is. It's so hard. But then there's like these like little things that I'm like, oh, I'm doing this now, and I really love it, and I'm really gonna miss this.
Totally. And I wonder how much of that stuff like we can do. And it might be about like putting boundaries on how much time we spend at work so that we have time to come home and do those things. It's funny that you said you're talking about gardening and stuff, because I was reading like one of the categories is like a spiritual category. And, some people are religious and some people are not, but gardening is part of the spiritual category. And it's about seeing the fruits of your labor and planting things and watching them grow and just knowing that there's something bigger than you, right? Like the environment and that kind of thing, which is awesome. And it's funny because I was in Costco and the big bags of soil were totally sold out. So it's like something that a lot of us probably never had an opportunity to do. And now we get to like stay home and do that kind of stuff, which is so therapeutic. I mean, getting the vitamin D, getting the sun. There's something called, I'd never heard this term before, but it's called earthing. And earthing is essentially your bare hands and your bare feet touching the earth and touching nature. And there was some studies about it that were saying that it like reduces inflammation and improves your circulation, adds joy to your life, improves your mood, your ability to empathize with others. Like it was just all this stuff. And it's like, how much time do I actually spend outside in the dirt until now, right?
Yeah.
And so definitely something that I want to continue when this is all over.
Sure.
So
you've mentioned, because you've referred to like what these 7 areas for self-care, and you mentioned what the physical fitness and the spiritual. What else is there?
This one I think you're pretty good at. It's the intellectual self-care, which is reading books, getting new information, listening to podcasts. It even can be like talking to people who maybe have a lot of insight about something. Just keeping your brain moving improves your cognitive function. And it's fun to learn something new. Like it's funny, when this all first started, I was like, I'm going to perfect my Spanish and I'm going to do all these things. Of course, that hasn't happened. I have a bunch of unfinished projects going on, but never really thought about like the intellectual piece as being self-care. And really self-care is about, bettering yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, that's something that I haven't really been doing, but something that I'd like to incorporate. The next one is social self-care. And I'm like, what does that mean? I thought initially it was just like, building relationships, but actually relational self-care is a separate category, but social self-care is different now, obviously, with social distancing and things like that. But one of the components of it is actually about being the ability to set boundaries with people. I think a lot of our interactions are, maybe things that we don't necessarily want to do. Like, I don't want to go to dinner at so-and-so's house and things like that. And so having the ability to set boundaries, that the social part of your life is something that you actually want for yourself. Right. I don't know if you've ever done like things where you go somewhere out of guilt. Like, I don't really want to go to this person's party, but I'm going to go because I feel bad. Right. And so part of the social self-care is the ability to kind of ask for what you need and get what you need. And that's something that I struggle with because I don't want them to think I'm not nice or, and so that's something that I'll definitely be focusing on. Have you done anything where you don't really want to go? You don't have to mention any names.
I would say that as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot better about
Yeah.
that. You know, when I was younger, certainly did that. And as I've gotten older, I've been a lot better about, no, I don't want to do that. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, we have, not now, obviously, because we can't see each other, but we have friends that, you know, live around the corner, and, you know, they'll invite us over for dinner like all of the time. And I've gotten pretty good at, like, if I'm not in the mood, I'll be like, no, we're good. We're not going to come. We're
Yeah.
gonna stay home. And I just, you know, that's so, I definitely, you know, I like this one because it's something that, like, you know, and I don't know if I ever thought about it necessarily as self-care, because these are, you know, dear friends of mine that, you know, I really enjoy their company, but there's some days, and I think that's that introverted part of me that, you know, there's some days I don't want to hang out and just talk about stuff. I really just need to, like, have the quiet. And you know,
Yeah, it's funny because my husband is very good at that, like, to the point where I'm like, "You're not very nice sometimes," and, you know, he'll make fun of me because I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go get a present, and I don't even want." He's like, "Why are you going?" And I'm like, "Because they invited me, and they're having a baby or whatever," and I feel bad, like, I have to go, and so that's something that I really, you know, it's part of my, like, lack of assertiveness and not really voicing what I need, but that's definitely something that kind of drains the energy from you because sometimes I'm not good company, right? Like sometimes I'm not like the best person to be around, and I know that about myself. So to force myself to do something that, you know, I don't really necessarily want to do is not really feeding myself, right? It's not really like taking care of me. So that's definitely something.
there's a flip side to that too, because there's certainly been times where I've been like, you know, I had an obligation, you know, like you're saying, like it's somebody you work with or something, like, you know, that you like don't want to disappoint them. And so you force yourself to go. And then there's certainly been times that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I went. Like, I
Totally,
tried this,
totally. Yeah.
but it was really good. And then, you know, there's sometimes you go and it's not good. And so maybe you make that appearance. So you fulfill that obligation,
Yeah.
and
It's like it's not black or white, right? Like sometimes you have to go. Like I gotta go to a wedding sometimes or whatever. Um, but really just like not feeling like I have to do certain things. So that's the social one. And then obviously the relational one is, you know, spending time and nurturing your relationships, which a lot of times we don't really have time to do, you know? And so this has given me opportunity to, you know, talk on the phone longer. Like my mom, she'll call me during the work week and I'm like super busy and I'm like, I gotta go. So it's been nice to be able to just like chat and really like spend time with her. But our lives are just so hectic and busy that we just don't have enough time sometimes. So this is definitely
I know. Well, and I'm sure like all the parents out there probably can say the same. Like I feel like the past 2 months, like I've talked to my kids so much more than, I mean, and just because we're together all day, right? You know, normally I go to work, they go to school, and then me and we'll see each other in the evening and we'll check in and like have those like conversations. I mean, you know, my family, we've always been pretty good about talking to each other and checking in, but now, you know, we're with each other all day. And so it's more like smaller conversations during the day.
totally. It's funny because we were home together all day long, and then the other day I went to the store, and the kids were like, "Where were you? We missed you." I'm like, "We're here all day together." Like it's crazy. Like it's doing different things, and I have two kids who don't want it to be over, and one kid that does. So it's you know they're noticing the benefits of it too. So those are the categories. It's physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, social, relational, and I'm sure other people could come. It's not like a set list. Like this is something that whatever works best for you. But when you talk about like love, like love with the relationship with somebody, a lot of times it incorporates action, right? There's like love and action, and we do things for people, or we nurture those romantic relationships or family relationships. And what I've learned about self-care is it's actually like an action item for self-love.
Hmm.
And so self-love is like, you know, the ability to recognize your own worth, to be kind to yourself. And so what you're really doing, and it kind of sounds weird at first when I was, you know, kind of thinking about it, is you're really like fostering a relationship with yourself. You're prioritizing yourself. You're giving yourself the things that you need in a relationship. Like in my relationship with my husband, I need time, I need empathy, I need compassion, I need some acts of service, I need him to like honor and respect me. And it's like, this is the same thing, but turning it inward. And a lot of times we're not really good at that, right? We're not really good at loving ourselves. And
Yeah.
these things are like so helpful for us, but like, why don't we prioritize them? Like I can do all these acts of service for my kids and not think twice about it. But when it comes to myself, it's like, I don't have time for that, or I don't, want to do this or whatever. And it's like, if you don't have the ability to do that for yourself, then you really need to start the process of learning how to love yourself, really.
Yeah, that's such a great way of thinking about it. I had put out to the staff last week, that we were going to talk about this and asked for like ways that they practice self-care. And one of our counselors, Natalie Rodriguez, emailed me and said her way of self-care, and I loved it because it's actually something I do too, but I never thought about it as self-care. She talked about, picking her battles with her kids.
Mm.
And like, what are some things that she's going to care about? And what are some things that she's just going to let go because it's not important, and making that conscious choice of, I'm not going to fight this battle with them right now. I'm going to let this go. And I just,
wonderful.
it's something that we've talked about, in our parent talks a lot, is kind of a reoccurring theme. And I never really had thought about it as an act of self-care, but it totally is. It's like you making that conscious decision in your brain, like, this isn't something I'm going to fight. It's not worth it to me. And it is that, kind of that act of self-love. Like, I'm not going to cause myself stress and anxiety about having this battle with my kids, because I don't want to do that to myself. And I thought that was so great.
I love it. I think that's a perfect example, like, especially right now. I mean, how many parents have you heard say, like, I can't get my kid to do work. I've tried this. I need more strategies. Like, that's so stressful as a parent. We've talked about our younger ones who just really don't care a whole lot about school. And I probably spent the first week, like, going through his, school loop and the Clever app and trying to figure out what he needs to do. And then it just got to the point where I'm like, this is turning into torture for myself. Like, I hate today. I hate homework hour. Like, and so really it's like, we're focusing on math now. We're doing the best we can. I've let it go, and
now yesterday awful with homeschooling our kids. It not so much with my daughter, but like with my son, like, he did not want to do anything yesterday, and I was yelling at him, and my husband was yelling at him, and then Nathan was pissed that we were yelling at him, and it was like, I don't trust you guys anymore. You're yelling. Awful. Awful. And finally, like, we all calmed down and we looked at his list of stuff to do, and he was like, I don't want to do that assignment. Like, that, it was some like, where you listen to a song and analyze a song. He's like, I don't want to do that. I don't care about that. And I like don't want to listen to the song. And he's like, I just don't want to do it. And I'm like, all right.
I love it.
Because I was just like, because like we like went through and like I got him to do 2/3 of the list, and then I was like, I'm gonna let this go. He doesn't have to complete this whole list. It's gonna be fine. And some of the stuff that was complaining about, so his teacher, he's in the 5th grade, and the teacher has got them listening to Harry Potter, and he's really into it, but then they have to do these activities of like analyzing the chapter and stuff, and he was like, I don't understand. Why can't you just read a book and enjoy it? Why do we always have to analyze it? And I'm like, I felt that so hard.
Great point.
It's been like, actually, and I'm somebody who loves to read, but always kind of disliked my English classes.
Yeah.
Why can't we just enjoy it? I felt that so hard. Then it was so hard. I had to like take a moment to like walk away and be like, God, I know. What is the point? I don't understand.
I don't have to care about what her thought is about this book. Why can't I just read it?
Oh God. Yeah. So, I just, I had this, I don't know if I've ever told you the story, what you care about with your kids. When my daughter was, I think she was in the 6th grade, and we were at Safeway. I'll never forget, like, we were just like in Safeway, like walking down the aisles, and Hannah comes to me and she's like got this like argument like that she has been preparing on why she should get her ears double pierced.
Oh gosh.
And so she's like, you know, peppering me with this stuff in the Safeway. And I'm sitting, and I had this moment of like, do I care about this? I don't think I do. Why would I care about this? And so I just turned around. I'm like, yeah, you can get your ears double pierced. It's fine. And she like kind of was like, what? And I just told her, and I'm like, yeah, that's just not something I'm going to care about. It's fine. You know?
How much parenting stuff I care about because other people would judge me if I didn't care about it. You know what I mean? Like, what's
Well,
wrong?
I had this moment like, should I let my 12-year-old get her? Like, would people judge me? And then I had this like kind of like, I don't think I care if people. You know what? I think like I had this moment of like, you know, I'm always at work. I never see those damn parents that she's, you know, that go to like school. I'm like, I don't care.
Do what's best for you, do what's best with your family. But it is hard. It's like all that like pressure of like, I'm supposed to. It's like, how much stuff do we do in life because we're supposed to do it versus because we really want to do it?
Right.
Not a lot. Not a lot. Another thing I was thinking about self-care is I was thinking about like the things that I always say. Like people, all the other social workers make fun of me. They're like, you're the self-care queen. You do your nails and all the stuff. And I thought of that as self-care, and it is self-care to a certain degree, like, you know, getting massages and spoiling yourself. But one thing that self-care is not supposed to be, it's not supposed to be something that's dependent on your ability to access it, right? Like, I can't get a massage every day as much as I would love to. I can't afford it, right? And so making sure that the things that you put on your self-care plan are practical, are accessible, are maintainable. And then of course treating yourself when you can or when you want to. Because, you know, if I can get, like I said, if I can get a massage every day, I would, but I can't. So making sure they're like, you know, simple things. And so what I did is I got this list of like a very simple self-care action plan. And I was listening to a TED Talk and some woman was talking about, you know, self-care and what she does. And I loved it. It was super simple. And it basically is just obviously, you know, eating well. She's like, you know, getting fresh fruits and vegetables and things. But her thing is, number one is moments of silence and stillness. And, you know, all that noise that we hear in the house and just stepping out and having 10 minutes of just stillness and quiet, which is amazing when you actually get it. I put my hammock in the backyard now, and it's one of my like favorite parts of my day. So number one is, this is what I've been trying to do for like the last couple of weeks of really just trying to have this for myself, is the moments of stillness and silence. The second one is movement. It could be a walk, it could be a spin class, it could be sweeping my house, it could be something, but it's supposed to be something that I don't hate. And like, we're meant to move, right? So something that kind of gets me going. So that, and that could be 10 minutes. Some days it's 2 hours, some days it's 10 minutes, like just making sure that you get that every day. And then the last one is like I was talking about, like earthing, is like being in nature, just 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
so when you think about your relationship with your spouse, if I told you like you need to spend 30 minutes a day with Paul, and you're like, oh, that's so much, like that's horrible. Like that's what it's like when with the relationship with ourselves, right? If I can't give myself 30 minutes a day just for me, then maybe I'm not at the right place to like love myself, you know? So if I can do 10 minutes of each of those things every single day, I think I'm going to be in good shape, and it's manageable for me right now. And then my kids see me do that, and that's again like the modeling, right? Like, what do your kids see you do to take care of yourself? They're probably watching you water your plants now, right?
Yeah, and well, and you know, because I was thinking about this too, and because I was thinking about the modeling aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think a lot of times, and I think our kids do watch us, but I think a lot of times we maybe assume they're watching us a lot more than they are, and so I think it's really important to talk about it too,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and even if it's not a conversation because the kids they aren't responding, if you're just saying it out loud, like, oh, I spent, you know, that 30 minutes in the garden this morning, it made me so happy, like, you know, I'm loving how the, you know, plants are coming in, um, and just having your kids say it out loud. Because one thing, you know, that I, my daughter said to me recently, she was talking about like growing up and becoming an adult, and that it just kind of seems like it all sucks, and like there's so many stresses. And so I don't think as adults and as parents, we talk about the good parts
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we enjoy. And so I think that, yes, going and getting that and taking that walk and like your kids seeing that, you took that walk, but then talking about, oh, I really enjoyed it. I saw the pretty flowers, or, the sun on my skin felt just so good, or, you know,
Yeah.
like, I think talking about it and like, and then maybe it's actually good for us too with that, the self-care part, because we're vocalizing it and really kind of consciously thinking about what did we get joy from, and then saying that out loud. I think that's a really important piece to this.
I think that's amazing that you said that, because going back to the beginning, when I was talking about my mom, in my mind, my mom's years of mothering were like torture, right? Maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's just what I observed, and we never really talked about self-care, right?
Right.
I'm gonna call her today and be like, "Did you hate it when we were growing up?" Like, because it really felt like it. I mean, maybe not. Maybe she had moments of like, I don't know. That's a great point. Like, hmm, what we observe and what's really the reality.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
a discrepancy.
like, I actually love to cook for my family. I mean, it's something that gives me a lot of joy. I love to cook. And I think there are times that I can complain about it. Maybe not complain, but like there's certainly days I don't want to do it, that I'm tired and I'm like, oh, let's just get takeout. Like I'm just too tired to deal with that. And so like, is that message then, because that's what I'm saying out loud, I'm too tired to deal with this, is the message then when I am doing it, like it's a chore? Other than, and it's not, I actually really enjoy it.
Mhm.
So
Good point. Well, that could be a good assignment for us this week of like, what did we do that was self-care to us, and how did we communicate that to our families? Like, what do they know now about what we do that's beneficial to us?
yeah, yeah. I've just been thinking. I think a lot of times we don't. We may be doing stuff that we are taking care of ourselves, but if we're not talking about it, then we're not really modeling it.
Totally. That's a great point. I never really thought about that. I'm just like, oh, if I do all the stuff, they're gonna notice. Kids are so introspective. Like they're so like self-indulgent. Like they're probably not even paying attention to anything.
Right. I think sometimes they certainly are, but what interesting is like what they may be observing may not actually be what you're thinking about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Cooking's a great example because I'm like, you know, um, hmm, point taken. I like that.
All
So
right.
I mean, that's pretty much what I got today about, I think again, it's about loving ourselves. It's about adjusting our needs. Our bodies and our minds speak very loudly to us, and a lot of times we ignore them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know when I'm stressed, my shoulders get tight. I get kind of a knot in my stomach.
Right now.
Right? I'm like, oh my gosh. My thoughts get racier at night. Like I have to really be aware of what's going on for me and then kind of adjust accordingly. Maybe I need more outside time or physical activity that day because I know I'm having that tension, or maybe I'll change it to do like stretching and yoga because I know I'm feeling really tense that day. But really just taking the time to listen to what your body's telling you, to what your mind is telling you, and then, making the adjustments to help yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think, and like, yeah, let's give ourselves a little bit of homework again to really consciously talk about what we've been doing,
Yeah,
to our
definitely. And
family
continuing to sleep.
and continuing to sleep. Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't take a nap this week, which I was very proud of. So
Yeah, I didn't either, actually. So yeah,
we're doing good. We're doing good.
we
Yeah.
are. All right. So
Okay.
until next week, take care of yourself. All
You too.
right. Bye.